And welcome back to the channel, everybody. And we are talking today about the best penny stocks to buy right now. And I'm not even going to give you a list, okay? So that's the first thing, is that when it comes to these penny stocks, you have to research these penny stocks yourself. And that's kind of what I want to get into in today's video. I am going to point you in the right direction, but I'm not going to specifically point out any new stocks in this video. I'm just going to give you some information that you can work with and some research tools for pointing you in the right direction in terms of finding the best penny stocks to invest in if that's what you're seeking. So when it comes to the best penny stocks to buy right now, you'll hear that phrase, like buy it right now, you know, it's going to go parabolic. It's your once in a lifetime opportunity, right? The 1980s, Jordan Belfort on the phone. I used to joke about that all the time, you know, with some guys back in like 2021 when the market was going crazy. And it was just, you know, run of the mill. I mean, everything was going parabolic. So you call a guy on the phone, hey, we have this new technology company that's going to explode, and we have this and that, and, you know, this technology is going to do this, and you should buy it right now. You could pay off your mortgage. And it's that type of mindset that often gets people in trouble, especially if a stock has already gone parabolic. Now, it's like, here's the thing. I get excited about these types of investments. And I was talking to somebody. First of all, you know, I want to say I appreciate everybody who has supported me on the channel over the last several years. It's been since really 2021 and even before I rebranded the channel. But there's a comment from somebody who's been on the channel since TSNP, you know, historic TSNP. So I really appreciate that. Like, I really do. Those of you guys who have stuck this out with me, who have viewed my content and, you know, really stuck with me throughout this channel and this journey. I really do appreciate everybody out there. And I thank you all for approaching, it'll be now 13,000 subscribers. So lucky number 13, right? Let's see if we get lucky in the stock market here soon. And maybe you will too, because the market, I think, is shifting. I think there's going to be more opportunity with interest rates coming down. There's going to be a push for more liquidity, more investment, more, basically, I'm pretty sure this administration wants interest rates to go down. Now, that might be bad for inflation, but it also might be good for asset prices, you know, and we know how the story goes. We've seen this before. But with that being said, I do want to try to point you in the right direction in this video to some of the opportunities out there in the market, and in particular, where you can look. So the first place would be, if you're looking at penny stocks to invest in or potentially buy as of right now, you can look at what's called the breakout boards. Now, the breakout boards are on a website known as Investors Hub. Now, Investors Hub, right, this is a website that goes over stock market. You know, you basically have all kinds of comments, and you have like message boards, and you have charts you can look at and data on the stocks. But it's basically a big place for the stock market, but it very well specializes in the OTC markets, or the over-the-counter penny stock market. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But it also specializes in stocks that trade on the exchanges that are penny stocks. So it really targets like the smaller and micro cap stocks. So it's called Investors Hub. And I can leave the link down in the description. Once I make all the edits for this video, I'll put it down there. But basically, with Investors Hub and with all of these websites that I'm going to explain here in just a minute, you can look at Investors Hub and you can talk to other people about the stocks. So you can get direct opinions from people all around the globe who may be invested in the stock that you're looking to invest in. So that can be very helpful. And so if you're looking at, you know, what to invest in, take a look at Investors Hub. The breakout boards basically go over which stocks are trending. So you type in Investors Hub breakout boards, it'll pop up. It's one of the things you can look at where you can basically see all the stocks, like the top 20, I think, or top 30 stocks that are trending on the markets, which includes mostly penny stocks, you know, and there's some that are not penny stocks on that list, but a lot of them will be penny stocks. So you can see which ones are trending. Now, just remember, if it's trending on the breakout boards, that might be good or bad. If it's, you know, going parabolic, how much longer will it go parabolic? Are you too late to the party is the question. So just keep that in mind. As always, you know, penny stocks are obviously high risk. I mentioned this in every video. You guys know the deal. I'm not your financial advisor. I do have my finance degree, but it doesn't mean I'm I have experience working previously in the financial services industry. I've worked as a registered broker-dealer, but at the same time, I am not your financial advisor. I am not the individual responsible for your portfolio, right? So make sure you're doing your own research. Make sure you guys are basically ensuring that you're taking appropriate risk and that you feel comfortable with the risk you're taking. I had somebody ask me about stop loss orders and if they should do one. I personally am not a fan of stop loss orders for the reason that I want to know which risk I'm taking. I want to know what the risk is and how I can potentially mitigate that risk. I don't want to use stop loss orders because, in my personal opinion, you should really be comfortable with the risk you're taking. And if you're not, then it probably shows in the fact that you're afraid of it going down a few ticks. And that's an easy way to get stopped out of a position with a stop loss order. So I'm not a huge fan of those. But getting back to some of the resources you can look at when it comes to finding good penny stocks to invest in, one of the other ones you can look at is going to be called otcmarkets.com, OTC over the counter, or otcmarkets.com. And OTC Markets is the website where basically you go there, you type in a ticker symbol, you type in a stock, and you find information on that stock. And it could be a variety of information. You can look at the volume, you can look at the trading history, the chart, you can look at how many shares they have outstanding, the transfer agent information. You can look at the news for a penny stock or anything. And they also have a stock screener you can use. If you type in on Google OTC Markets stock screener, it'll show you the specific criteria you're looking for. So for example, if you want to find a stock that is priced under 5 cents per share and has between 100 and 500 million shares outstanding, and additionally has X amount of volume or average volume over the last 3 months, you can look at those stocks. You can also look at stocks based upon the sector, the tier that they're listed on. OTC Markets has different tiers, and so you can categorize it by where the stock is trading at currently. And so there's a lot of things you can look at on otcmarkets.com. I will additionally leave that link down in the description. But with that being said, those are a couple of resources. The next resource I like to use is TradingView. So TradingView can sometimes give you detailed looks at the price action. If there's a frenzy going on, there's pretty good candlestick charts. TradingView.com. It's great for penny stocks and OTC as well. You can look at charts, long-term trends, and you can see, where the stock's been trading at and where it might go in the future based upon historical trends. So TradingView.com. There's also Thinkorswim, which is now part of Charles Schwab. You can use Thinkorswim, I believe, if you have a Charles Schwab account. So that's one option. If you want to look at more detailed charts on the OTC markets and penny stocks and trying to find opportunities that might be suitable. And, there's two parts of it, right? There's the fundamentals and there's the technicals. That's always true no matter what you're investing in. It's the same thing if you're investing in penny stocks. And a lot of people will take a very short-term approach to it as if, what are the best stocks to get rich tomorrow? In other words, what are the best penny stocks to buy right now, this second? And that's the wrong question to ask, because I personally look at this from, obviously supply and demand. You have buyers and sellers in the market, but additionally, it's more of a long-term thing for me. I kind of think over the next 3, 6 months, even year, what opportunities, if I buy right now, might actually go parabolic, might actually go up 1,000%, might actually be under the radar, right? Might actually be accumulating revenues, might actually be making really good deals, might actually be having pretty good management teams. Cough, cough, Oscar Brito, we've talked about him, who is now part of Affluence Corporation. Small plug there for AFFU, but they've had some really good news coming out. The stock hasn't moved though, right? Is that a stock that could move in the future? That's the question. And those are the questions I love to ask, because as you see fundamentals improve in a stock, the price action might not line up. But if you wait long enough, that might change. And so the market is an interesting place, not only on the big board exchanges, but it's the same concept on the smaller exchanges and the OTC markets. Even though there's less liquidity out there on these exchanges, there's less market participants, but you still have the potential for very large moves. And so that is what I love about, looking at some of these things. And yes, those moves can be much larger than what you see on the NASDAQ because of the lack of liquidity. That's part of it. Because when liquidity ramps up, the stock often doesn't have the sell side ability either, right? The buy side and sell side, two sides of the market, but just as there's not a lot of liquidity on the buy side sometimes, there might not be a lot of market participants on the sell side. Maybe there is, but maybe people, are shareholders and they've been for years and they haven't paid attention, right? OTC markets is like the Wild West. It kind of goes unnoticed and then the stock goes parabolic, right? And I've seen this so many times, like with TSNP, as somebody, who's been on the channel. I know you guys mentioned, I really appreciate that with everybody who's supported me over the years. But, going back to TSNP, as somebody commented earlier about that stock, here's the thing. There was one person I remember reading who, and this is kind of like rumor, Wild West rumors, I guess you could say. So kind of like you could call it a fairy tale, whatever. But this person allegedly had 4 million shares of TSNP that they did not touch for however long. And this is at 0001 when it was trading at 1/100th of a penny, okay? And that stock eventually went to $1.93, did a reverse split, but that's $1 million plus, almost 2 million plus percent. I want you to understand, 2 million almost percent for TSNP. And the rumor is that this individual woke up and one day the stock was above $1, getting close to that $1.93 peak. They had 4 million plus shares that were untouched from 0001. So a $400 investment is now worth the equivalent of 5, 6, whatever, $7 million. They immediately hit the sell button, and that was one of the things that they speculate, or what I was reading, caused the initial crash of TSNP, because this individual who had no idea the stock was going parabolic woke up one day and his brokerage account was several $1 million, probably was absolutely shocked and excited at the same time, and hit the sell button. That stuff does happen, okay? And that's what I'm trying to say is, like, these OTC stocks can fly under the radar for a long time. These penny stocks can fly under the radar for a long time, but when they do go parabolic, it can happen in the snap of a finger, and all of a sudden you're up 1,500, 2,500%, 5,000%. Now, a lot of times this will happen in cycles also, so keep that in mind, because the cycles that can happen in the over-the-counter markets can be vicious, and often what you'll see is, let's say, every 4 to 5 years, which is what I've noticed, not just with the OTC and penny stocks, but with the cryptocurrencies as well. The 4-year cycle where we go from, let's say, 2013, right? Bitcoin's going up, then it crashes like 90%. 2017, same thing. 2021, and now we're in 2025. So are we at the precipice of a brand new parabolic cycle? And it might not be absolutely every 4 years, but it seems to be a consistent pattern, right? Maybe 4 to 5 years, you often see a big reversal in some small caps, some micro caps, some, cryptocurrencies that have remained under the radar. And perhaps the liquidity is not there, especially with interest rates being higher. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So those are basically 3 resources I would look at for penny stocks. You can look at, if you're looking at that high risk type stuff, you can look at Investor Sub, the breakout boards, the most read boards, what's trending, but be careful with trending stocks because they may have already gone up a lot. Look at the technicals as much as the fundamentals. Line those two up. Second, right, you have OTC markets. That's for all your research on the individual stocks. You can narrow down stocks with their stock screener, OTC markets, stock screener, and then you can also look at TradingView. TradingView.com allows you to look at technicals on penny stocks, pretty much any stock out there, whether they trade on the large exchanges or on these smaller exchanges. So with that being said, these are 3 resources you can use for researching these types of opportunities in the market. And there's a lot more resources out there, but these are just a few that I use on a regular basis. And so this is kind of like what I use for researching these Wild West type penny stocks. And I love using that term because although the OTC markets has cleaned up a lot over the last several years, I mean, it has done a lot of regulatory stuff, and the SEC's gotten involved, and there's been a lot of cleanup with a lot of these penny stocks. So I think, especially with the younger generation, that is going to result, and we've already seen this trend back in 2021. CNBC even did a piece on it, and we're going to continue to see a shift where the OTC markets gains more legitimacy, especially as I would argue, cryptocurrency is even more unregulated now in a lot of regards than the OTC markets or the penny stock market, because there's been so much regulatory oversight over the last few years, and you still have a lot of your shit coins out there, a lot of your altcoins that are truly unregulated with no consequence in terms of taxes or anything else. So I would argue there might be a shift from totally unregulated cryptocurrencies to the OTC markets as it gains more legitimacy, and specifically with the younger generation, which is also exciting because Gen Z is fed up with the traditional bond and stock portfolio. They want something different. Let's be honest, we know, right? And myself included, I'm a late millennial. I've always been high risk. And CNBC even discussed that in their piece. I'll try to find that link as well and leave it below if I can. But these are all things to consider, guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope all is well out there. And thank you so much for tuning into this video. God bless America, and God bless every single person out there watching this till the end.